Why, yes, I am wearing my martini pants. Thanks for asking.
Hi-ho YouTube, Major Cord coming at you today with a bit of my own personal history. Those of you that follow MrJimbofox here on YouTube will have seen his recent video where he showed off two of his first knives. And by the way, if you're not subscribed to MrJimbofox, get your asses over there and do that because he's fucking awesome. He does knife reviews, gun reviews, gear reviews, and soda pop reviews, so it's basically something for everyone on his channel. Check him out. His link will be in the description below, as well as a link to his video on this subject. So before I get too rambly, my first knives are these little gems right here, and I can't exactly remember which one I came into possession of first. They're not, they're obviously not the highest quality pieces of material here, but this one, I'm pretty sure this is the first knife I ever owned, and this one, it's just, your standard cheapo stainless China Swiss Army knife. And I found it on the bank of a river while I was fishing with my dad when I was 8 or 9. And I can pretty much remember how it happened. I was just, we were walking back to the car after fishing for a couple hours, and I saw this thing on the ground, and I'm like, hey, Dad, what's this? Because I'd never really seen a Swiss Army knife. I mean, I knew what they were, but I'd never seen one in person. And he's like, oh, it's a Swiss Army knife. Here, you can have it. And I've kept it all these years. Back when I was 8, 9, 10, 10 years old, all that, I didn't carry a knife every day. I used this, when I went out camping or fishing or stuff like that. And even then, I mean, this blade is dull, and I don't think it was ever really sharp. But I loved this thing, and I thought it was just the coolest thing in the world to have a Swiss Army knife. And I still keep it, even though it in terms of what my knives are now, this thing is a piece of shit. But I love it, and I'll never actually understand why these Chinese Swiss Army knives seem to think they need to put every tool that's manufactured on a Swiss Army knife into these things. Like, there's scissors, saws, there's a file, there's a fish scaler, all your bottle opening and can opening implements, bunch of back scale tools. I've never actually seen a Wenger or Victorinox model that has this exact combination of tools. But still, I think this is just really cool that I still have it. This is probably something I'm never going to pass on to my kids, just because it's essentially starting to fall apart. The tools are kind of bent and warped, and the scales are close to falling off. But it's just one of those things that I really love, and it's a part of my personal history that I will always have. And I'm glad that I found it after I lost it for a couple of years. And this is another knife that I actually lost. Being a teenager, you kind of lose track of things. But despite losing it for my teenage years, once I was cleaning my room for college, I found it again. And this Winchester, mini hunting knife was given to me by my father, gosh, when I was probably 9 years old, so this had to have come second. I think you can still buy things like this at Walmart, and this is another, stainless China knife. But it's very solidly constructed. Even after all these years of use by me, it is solid as a rock. Modeled, obviously, after the Buck 110 and things like that. But, I used this every time we went fishing, and, every time we went camping after he gave it to me. And he just wanted me to have a nice little knife that I could stick in my vest or my tackle box, something like that. And I cherish this. Even though, I'm not the best hunter, actually I don't hunt, I'm not the best fisherman, so this knife is probably not what I'd want to associate with that, is probably what I want to say. This is something that I will always associate with my childhood. Just because that memory of getting your first knife, or the first time you learned to shoot, those are memories that I think every kid, at least, from my point of view, should really have with their parents. Boy or girl, doesn't matter to me. And that's why this will always be special to me. And I'm really glad I still have it, and I still carry it from time to time. Occasionally it'll go in my tuxedo pocket if I'm singing a concert or stuff like that. Things where I know I'm not going to lose it. But yeah, it's held up really well after all these years. You can see the bolsters are worn, the wood is starting to take some age, but still holding up, and it will probably for another 10, 15, 20 years. Maybe I'll pass it down to my kids eventually. They'll probably be pretty nice. Who knows? But yeah, I'm just really glad I have it. So, thank you very much for watching. I know MrJimbofox also included like his first knife that he actually purchased, which I thought was really cool, the story behind that. I've actually done a review on the first knife that I purchased, and that's the Kershaw Chill. But really, to me, that knife's not necessarily special, because it's kind of like every other, black plasticky knife that I have. I mean, in my collection, I probably have 20 knives that basically look the same. They're just steel with black plastic handles of some sort. So it doesn't stand out as special to me. Like, in my world of knife collecting, looking back fondly on things, I remember these two knives. I remember the crappy frost knife that I carried for years as a teenager. I remember the Buck Vantage, which was my first actual good EDC knife that my parents got me for Christmas when I was 17. I remember things like my Spyderco Enduro, which I bought because I really wanted to have a good Spyderco knife, and it's blue. Things like that. And I'll always remember my first case knife, which I really recently just purchased. But, that Kershaw Chill, even though it's the first knife that I technically ever purchased, it's not special to me. Knives like this are. So they're worth talking about. Even if they're not worth reviewing, I think they're worth talking about. And I do think there's a difference, because I'm not really giving you any specs or anything. But, yeah, that's 7 minutes of me rambling and talking, and hopefully someone enjoyed it. So, thank you very much for watching. Please check out MrJimbofox, and have yourselves a good day.